A stone hit her ankle. Miss Odessa did not turn around. She bent down instead, right there in the middle of Dustwell's dusty street, and picked up a rotten apple core somebody had thrown from the porch of the general store. She dropped it into her basket like it was worth something. The children who threw the stone went quiet. They had wanted her to cry or shout or run. She did none of that. "Would you look at her?" said Mr. Grady, standing in his clean doorway with his arms crossed, picking through trash like a hog. A few men laughed. A woman pulled her skirt aside like Miss Odessa's shadow might touch it and leave a stain. Miss Odessa kept walking slow and steady, her basket swinging at her side. Her shoes were falling apart. One had a hole where her big toe pressed through the dust. Her dress, gray with age, had been patched so many times nobody could guess its first color. But her back stayed straight. Her chin stayed up. Then, right in front of the whole watching street, she stopped at the water trough outside the saloon. She dipped her hands in the cold water, and she washed the apple core clean, careful as a woman washing fine china. The street went silent. Nobody expected that. They expected shame. They expected her to hide the trash, eat it quick, disappear. Instead, she held it up, dripping, and took a slow bite right there in front of them all. "She's got some nerve," someone muttered. Miss Odessa did not answer. She never answered. Answering cost more than she had to spend. She finished the apple, wiped her hands on her patched dress, and walked on toward her small tin-roofed house at the edge of town, where nobody could see the tears that came later after dark, when the candle was lit and the whole world had stopped watching. Dust rose on the road before anyone heard the hooves. Then the ground seemed to shake, just a little, and the whole street turned to look. A rider came through the gold evening light, and he was big, bigger than big. His shoulders filled out his coat like a barn door. His horse, black as a burnt log, snorted and tossed its head under his weight. Word had already reached Dustwell days before. A giant of a cowboy was riding through, a man named Jonah Steele, a man who never drew his gun first. The whole town poured into the street. Mr. Grady rushed out with his best smile, the kind he saved for men with money. "Welcome, Mr. Steele. Dustwell is honored, sir, truly honored." Jonah did not answer right away. He swung down off his horse slow, like a mountain deciding to move, and his boots hit the dirt with a sound that made the nearest children jump back. His eyes moved across the crowd, the saloon, the store, the church steps. Then his eyes stopped. They stopped on Miss Odessa. She stood near the back, small and quiet, her basket held tight against her chest. She tried to shrink, the way she always did when strangers looked her way. But this stranger did not look away. Something changed in his face. His jaw went tight. His breath caught just slightly, like a man seeing a ghost he had prayed for. He walked forward, past Mr. Grady's outstretched hand, past the rich men in their clean boots, straight toward the poorest woman in town. Every single person in Dustwell turned to watch him go. Miss Odessa's fingers dug into her basket. Her heart pounded hard against her ribs. She braced herself, ready for another cruel word, another joke at her expense. Jonah stopped in front of her. He pulled off his dusty hat and pressed it to his chest. "Ma'am," he said, his voice low and shaking just a little, "I never thought I'd find you again." The whole street had gone still. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed too loud. Mr. Grady's smile had frozen, then slid right off his face. "Sir," Miss Odessa said, her voice small, "I don't believe we have met." Jonah did not step back. He knelt down instead, right there in the dirt, so his eyes met hers. "15 years ago," he said, "I was a sick boy, no mother, no father, no home. I walked these plains half-starved, looking for anywhere to lie down and die." His voice cracked on that last word. Nobody in the crowd made a sound. "I fell down outside a broken little house," he said. "A tin roof, a dirt floor. I thought that was the end of me. But a woman found me on her step. She had almost nothing. One blanket, one bowl. She gave me both." Miss Odessa's hand rose slowly to her mouth. She let me sleep on her floor 2 whole weeks, Jonah went on. She fed me from her own plate even when her stomach was empty. She never once asked my name. She never asked what I could give back. She just said, "Child, everybody deserves kindness, especially when they have nothing." A tear slid down Miss Odessa's cheek. "When I was strong enough to walk," Jonah said, "she gave me her husband's old boots, the only thing of value she owned. She sent me off with a prayer like I was worth something." His eyes were wet now, and he did not hide it. "That boy was me," he said, "and that woman was you." Miss Odessa's knees went weak. She grabbed the porch post to stay standing. "I remember him," she whispered. "A small, sick boy. I prayed for him every night after he left. I never knew he became a man like you." Jonah took her worn hands in his big ones, gentle as holding glass. "You gave me everything," he said, "when you had nothing at all." Mr. Grady found his voice first, though it shook. "Mr. Steele, sir, surely this old woman isn't truly important to a man like you." Jonah rose to his full height, slow, steady, like a mountain standing up straight. His soft eyes turned hard, and the whole crowd stepped back without meaning to. "You mock her," he said, and his voice rolled down the street like thunder before rain. "You laugh at her patches. You laugh at her empty pockets. Your children throw stones at her feet. But let me tell you something, all of you, right now." He stepped beside Miss Odessa and wrapped one big arm around her thin shoulders, careful as holding a small bird. "This woman gave everything she had to a dying stranger and asked for nothing in return. While you laughed at her poverty, she was richer than any of you will ever be. Gold is not treasure. Land is not treasure. A kind heart, given away when it costs everything, that is treasure." He looked slowly around the silent street, meeting every eye that had once looked away from her. "She's my greatest treasure," he said, "and from this day forward anyone who mocks her mocks me." Nobody spoke. Mr. Grady stared at his own boots. The children who once threw stones hid behind their mother's skirts, ashamed. Jonah turned back to Miss Odessa, and his voice went soft again, just for her. "I've saved gold for 15 years, he said. "I'm building you the finest house in this town. You'll never carry a scrap basket again. You'll never go hungry again. And you will never be alone again, not while I'm alive." Miss Odessa could not speak. She only wept, and these tears felt different, not lonely tears, but tears of a prayer finally answered. True to his word, Jonah built her that house, with a porch swing and flowers by the door. He visited every day. The town, ashamed of its cruelty, began calling her family too. And when strangers rode through and asked about the old woman on the porch beside the giant cowboy, Dustwell always answered with pride, "That's Miss Odessa, his greatest treasure."